Todd, how are you, buddy?
Good man, how are you?
Can you see me? Yeah, there we
I can
go.
see you now, yeah.
There
Nice.
he is.
Right on, right on. Well, thanks for taking some time to join us.
Absolutely, man. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, of course. So, well, you mentioned, you're starting up a new label. Of course, I'm like, fuck, that's my wheelhouse, man. I'm all about that, right? Um, so of course, people, Eugene, are going to know you from, Black Wizard, who we've played a ton on this podcast, and Bison, which we played.
Mhm.
Um, Uncle Huge and the Dirty Birds. and
Yep,
and and now some
good
big
one.
things happening in your world. As mentioned, you're starting up a record label called
Yep,
Heartache No.2 Records.
yeah.
So,
This is my dear friend Vanessa here. Vanessa, Todd,
partner in crime.
partner in crime.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of
Nice.
her original brainchild. She
Yep.
can tell you more about that. But yeah,
Yeah, it was sort of just like a natural place to arrive when I was putting out a couple of covers, one of which was a duet with
Yep.
you. As I was sort of getting ready to release, it became really obvious to me that um, there was like, there wasn't anyone that was going to put out the songs that could do anything that I couldn't do for myself. And when you're just sort of doing the process of figuring it out, getting it all online as a self-release, you got to put something on there. And on our release day, Huge actually ended up snowed into the city. We ended up sitting around on my kitchen table drinking beers, and he was like, "Oh, what's Heartache No.2 Records?" I was like, "It's me. It's just me. It's what I'm releasing it under." I've been listening to a lot of Ray Price as I was writing the record, and there's a song that I didn't end up using that referenced Heartache No.2, which is one of the heartaches that Ray Price
Yeah.
unravels over the course of the song. And then there was sort of something on a playlist, and I was like, this just keeps kind of sticking with it. This is what I'm going to call it. And we sort of realized in that moment that Huge had been thinking about doing the same thing. It made a lot of sense to us to just work together on it. We worked together on shows. We used to bartend together. Like I did backups on the Uncle Huge and the Dirty Birds records. Like we've been friends for well over
many
a
many
decade,
years.
and collaborating on stuff is just as long. So
Mm.
when you know you can trust someone and work with them in a lot of different ways, it's a no-brainer.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. And what an endeavor. Like, what are the steps that it took to get to the process of, where you are today?
I think we're still
Well,
pretty early on, but yeah, just basically just trying to establish a timeline for the year currently.
yeah,
Get everything built up as far as socials and everything like that, and have the launch party coming up. And,
totally.
yeah, go from there. But yeah, just hours and hours of scheming and planning and yelling over each other and just trying to figure out what we want to do.
Yeah,
Scheming and planning. I love it.
yeah. I mean, it really just like it makes you ask yourself the questions about like, who am I making this for? Who do I want to connect with? What formats are the most important to me in terms of connecting with an audience, especially as things move towards so streaming centric. For us, one thing we really want to consider is finding different ways of getting, physical copies of things into people's hands, whether it be a cassette, or we've had some talk about doing an EP as like a photo book or a lyric book with photos, and that comes with the download code, and that's the physical thing people can hold in their hands. Or putting more focus towards making videos or connecting artists with like support for touring, going after grants and stuff. So in for us, it's about trying to find alternative revenue streams, alternative ways to put meaningful content into people's hands. And for us, it's just finding we're learning how to do it on our own projects first.
Hmm.
For me, the first real music job I had when I was in the Ballantines was working with Lottie Daw Records. I had a lot of live booking with them. You know, I got to choose an artist, a couple of artists that got pressed onto vinyl. And so for me, I've always had, I was lucky enough to be included in all of the steps that it took to put out records of the previous project. So now going into it solo, I have, you know, an understanding of what has and hasn't worked for me. And I know Huge feels the same. You know, we've both been very, we come from the DIY community. It, you know, it's expected that you do the legwork. And if you really care about other people's stuff, that, you know, it's just as valuable to be like, hey, I know who I can send you to get X, Y, and Z done. You know, like, oh, you want to do this, you want to release this, I can connect you with the person that can make that video. If you know, you have this much money and you want to spend towards promo, like I can help you build a plan that'll maximize that. You know, like all of those things are things we can share with people. And I mean, as we came up, we both got into music really young. And, you know, there were lots of people directly above us that gave us a leg up because they saw that we were very passionate. And the things that we were doing was, you know, intrinsic to who we were as people. And as we get older and maybe less inclined to sleep on floors and, you know,
I'll do it.
I mean, I'm still gonna do it. We're still gonna do it. But you know, as you build a body of work, you start to ask yourself, you know, what is the next step in building like an artistic legacy? Who do you want to be in your community next, as you're no longer, you know, spring chicken?
Yeah. And what a cool thing too, to be able to help out the scene that you've been, you know, so integral and such a huge part of for all those years too. Has there been much thought with this new label in how to make the scene I don't know, I don't want to say better, but it seems like there's always a fight to get people to get out and support other bands. And like, how do you tackle that as a new label?
Well, I mean, I think for
Good
us,
question.
we're both, I mean, a lot of this was like this label was creating, you know, a stamp under which the things we were already doing could be listed. This is like, you know, like I've been a booker and a promoter for 10 plus years. That is my day job too. So I'm always asking myself that question.
Right.
But I feel like there is, in a city like Vancouver, which continues to just get more and more expensive, there is this feeling that other people are, you know, getting maybe a bigger slice of the pie, but the pie doesn't exist. Like now, like you get a bunch of people together, we could bake the pie. Everyone gets a slice of the pie. You're not fighting over something that doesn't fucking exist.
Yeah, I think there's it's something weird has happened, and like the one positive thing that came out of this whole COVID thing is that I feel like it's not quite as clicky as it was before, because everybody kind of just, you know, all the different genres and stuff, they're all really separated before. But now I feel like people are like, I don't know, maybe I'm just super optimistic, but everyone's kind of like there's a lot of crossover going on. So which is what we're kind of doing too. So we're not just focusing on country or whatnot. We're gonna do heavy bands and everything. We already have some of that set up. So
yeah, we're trying to touch on a lot of different, but you know, obviously connected genres that are just things that matter a lot to both of us. Like obviously we both come from like a heavy music background. I grew up in punk and hardcore and metal, and obviously so did Huge. And you know, it's like that's where we came from. I had a conversation today actually, and I was like, you know, it's the same thing, the same underlying feelings. You know, I'm gonna die without you means the same if you're singing it or screaming it.
100%.
And
yeah,
and a lot of it is lonely music, you know, and a big part of big part of that is just sort of trying to gather as many people as you can that feel the same way you do, put them in the same room so you don't feel.
Yeah. So clearly then the pandemic didn't rob you both of your creativity.
No, man,
No.
I wouldn't have written a country record if it wasn't for COVID. It was really actually kind of like I didn't have to work as much as I usually do. I had like actually a downtime and time for myself for the first time ever.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
just like, yeah, I wrote a whole country record pretty much by myself, and then got my best pals to come play with me on it, and they all learned it, made it better, and
Yeah.
and I kickstarted that whole side of it, and then Vanessa did that pretty much right after, and then yeah, just yeah, endless conversations about what we want to get out of it, and also working with previous labels, like countless labels that don't really do anything for you.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I think our main focus is going to be like if we actually want to help somebody, we love their music, we're going to do a way better job than all the labels that I've dealt with, which is usually on the other side of the world or an email or a phone call, and then you don't hear from them for another 2 weeks.
Mhm. What
Yeah.
what is it about this new label, this venture that, like, how will you differentiate between, I don't know, I don't want to start naming labels, but you know what I mean? Like, what is it that you're hoping to accomplish that maybe you're not seeing, from other labels?
I think it's just like working with somebody on a personal level. Like we're not going to work with somebody unless we actually believe in them. So it'll make
Yeah.
like it's not just like it's a labor of love. We're not going to be, we're probably not going to make any money for a very long time, and that's not the point at all.
Yeah, we're not.
We're just literally doing it
No
because
amazing.
it's something
No,
like
it's big.
something really awesome to do for the soul and for the community. It's not a money making venture by any means. It'd be
No.
cool if it happened, but obviously not. Definitely not shooting for that. Not yet.
It's also like it's so hard to talk about your own stuff sometimes.
Yeah.
Just like have like another person like behind you, another voice behind you being like, hey, I've done this, and I've seen people be successful doing this, and I recognize those qualities in you. I believe in you. I will put my time into your art. Because
Right.
like sometimes you just feel like you're shouting into the abyss, right? Like you hope what you're
100%.
making, you hope what you're making connects with somebody, but just to have like anyone else be like, hey, I'm gonna stand up on your behalf and be like, be a fan first. Like
Totally.
to be someone who people trust, to love music genuinely and deeply, and like devotionally, like that, it's a power that you can give by being someone's fan.
Yeah. Well, and like you said, it's the been
100%.
there, done that. You've already gone down that road. You know what worked, what didn't work.
Mhm.
You're going to be able to help in a drastically different way than just a label that's wants to be a label.
Mhm.
Totally. I feel like a lot of sometimes it comes down to people wanting to surround themselves with people who are cool, who contribute to a look or something, and not about like sitting down with somebody and being like, hey, I really like what you're playing. Like, what do you want to do with it? Because I'm so surprised sometimes in working in booking events. Like I'll just be talking to an artist that will play at the Heatley one night, just someone who's kind of like new playing country stuff. And I'm like, hey, like, what are your goals? Like, are you recording something? Like, are you going to tour? And like, what do you like? Where do you want to go with this? And people are like, they haven't even asked themselves those questions.
Mhm.
And sometimes just having someone be like, hey, have you asked yourself why you do X, Y, and Z can be enough for you to think about it and be like, oh, maybe I should, like maybe it doesn't cost that much to, do this. Maybe it does cost
It
that much.
does. It always does.
Route, but
Yeah. But it's great to set goals. It's great to set
Yeah.
goals for regardless if it's the band or it's the label. And like
Yeah.
clearly there's already, a roadmap for your new label. We got the label launch and the EP release Feb 17. Is that right? Feb 17 at the Wise
February
Hall.
17th at the Wise Hall. Yeah.
So how far in advance, like, have you got the rest of 2023 kind of mapped out, or is it kind of like you're working a couple 2-3 months ahead, or like
We're
what's the
pretty
what's the
much
map
we're
there?
kind of into like pretty much right up until the middle of the summer right now, and then
Yeah.
yeah, going a couple months at a time.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah, we're working
I feel like
tape releases in the spring, and then then we're gonna get into some 7 inches, and yeah, go from there. But mainly, just try to get artists signed up and just start with singles, I guess.
Right. And
Yeah.
so far, then it's Vanessa Dee and the Brightsides. That's the first
Yep.
for the label.
Yeah, that's the first full
How
release.
many bands have you kind of got already in the arsenal that you're just waiting to tell everybody about?
I'd say probably, I mean, we've talked about a couple of split singles with folks. We've talked about doing maybe like a compilation where we'll get a bunch of studio time, have an amalgamation of a bunch of bands that we play with that are, that we make music with already, and do singles and release them digitally and do like a comp record. So there's also like projects that we are exploring and putting into work right now. I'd say there's probably 4.
Yeah, it's the number. It's a number I have in my head. We got 4 that we're actually working on.
Nice.
Yeah.
For the next 4 or 5 months.
That's pretty exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
also, we don't expect anyone to be like exclusive to us. Like that's not the kind of label we are.
No,
We're like,
not at all.
like, let's do a single together. Let's get your tape out. Let's let's like work on, these shows or this tour, like whatever. It's
Right.
like we're gonna be different things to different people because we're not in a world where you can count on any one way working right now.
Nope.
Nice. So tell us about the label launch and the EP release and all the bands and everything you've got going on that night, because it's not just bands, there's other stuff as well.
There is, yeah. It's gonna be a really cool night. Vanessa booked, we got a very wide range of entertainment, I should say.
Well, it's obviously
go ahead.
Both of us are playing.
Yeah.
We're gonna do a couple of songs together for sure, and in our respective sets. We've got Chance Lovett, who is an incredible singer. He's part of North Country Collective. Her and I have actually played music together on and off for a long time. She's also in Rempel and the Rousers. Rempel did backups on the EP as well. We've got Buck Nothing is Tristan from Brass's Cosmic Weirdo Country project that I'm really excited to see. I've seen him do some of the solo early on. This is going to be his first show with the full band backing him. That's going to be very cool. Chandelier, who is one of my favorite local drag queens, who is going to be doing a couple of Tammy Wynette acts, because it's actually the 25th anniversary of the George Jones show airing on the Nashville network. And I don't know if you've ever watched any of the George Jones show episodes from '98, but it is this like beautiful, like sort of crossroads of like the classics, like, Johnny Paycheck and George Jones and Waylon Jennings and like, like young Alan Jackson and like,
the trip.
All these like, yeah, it's absolutely insane. Like there's this sort of passing of the torch from the old classic outlaw artists to the artists that were coming up in the 90s. And a lot of the inspiration I took when writing the EP was sort of centralized around that classic primetime country, like variety show.
Okay. That's cool.
Type of vibe. And so, yeah, we're going to have drag queen. Penny Jo Buckner is going to be DJing. She's got a killer country vinyl collection. She does a night called Lonesome Ornery and Mean every month at the Heatley, where she spins those records. So that's one of my favorite nights to work. So I'm bringing her on. She actually just did this insane banner for me, which is I'm gonna bust out in one way or another at the show.
Nice.
That's incredible.
Real just hand stitched, like sequin, like proper like nudie suit, just sparkling.
Todd, are you free that night? We gotta get you come to the gig.
I definitely want to go. Yeah, I definitely want to go. And what's this? The visuals by Josh Ryan. What's that?
Yeah. So he's actually most known for doing like oil projection art, but him and I are actually working on, well, we're plotting on out a video for one of the first songs off of the EP. So
Cool.
there is some aspects of that, trying to sort of do visuals and maybe some prop pieces that will sort of turn the Wise Hall more into that sort of 70s variety show
Yeah,
vibe.
that's cool.
And we might even do some crowd footage at the gig. We'll see if it makes it into the video.
Yeah. It
Yeah,
feels like a
Josh
good
is
time to point out this here is my little cousin Brian Minichello painted this.
whoa,
It's
that's
felt like
beautiful.
a good time since we're talking about visuals and everything.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, Josh is like is an animator. He's actually from Texas, but he lives here now. But
Oh,
yeah, usually he does for like live shows and like psychedelic bands. He does he like puts like a bowl of oil and all these different dyes in there. So he does it all live usually, and
mm,
then it gets projected behind the bands. But no, I don't think they'll
Yeah.
be doing it this time. But yeah, he's a trip. He does a lot of really cool work.
yeah. Well, that sounds trippy. What was the music like in each of your house, like as a kid growing up?
My dad was everything Richie Blackmore. So
Okay.
Deep
Deep
Purple,
Purple and
Rainbow, and
yeah.
all that jazz, and a lot of Nazareth, a lot of all that stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, my mom was ABBA, which I still love as well.
Oh my God. Imagine an ABBA reunion tour would be the biggest tour on the
Oh my
planet.
God, I would spend $1,000 on that. I don't care.
So would I,
Actually,
man. I'd
on,
love that band.
on New Year's Eve, Ella Korth, who's this amazing bluegrass musician, we played a show together at Green Auto, and she did bluegrass covers of ABBA.
No.
It was called Ella Korth's Folkin' ABBA, and it was folkin' amazing.
That's great. Green Auto's an awesome little place, eh?
Oh, it's
Yeah.
great. I think we might actually end up filming the video there or components of it.
Okay.
Mike that owns Green Auto is awesome.
Yeah,
He is
he's a
such
beauty.
a sweet cat. I've actually known Mike for years before he set up Green Auto, because he did lights on the reunion tour for Slow,
Mhm.
classic East
Right.
Vancouver band Slow, that me and Jody Glenham did backup vocals on, and I tour managed briefly. So yeah, I met him back in like 2017, 2018 probably.
Okay.
And so I went to Green Auto for the first time back in October for a Woolworm show, and I was like, man, this place is great. And Tristan, aka Buck Nothing, will be playing with us on the 17th. He actually was doing sound there, and he's like, oh man, like I gotta put you in touch with my boss, like, like I know you're always looking for new space to do shows in. And we had a conversation or two about it and just sort of went back and forth, and we never ended up connecting. And then I got a text from a number I already had on my phone being like, hey, do you want to play New Year's at my new venue? And I was like, what's your new venue? And I was like, Green Auto. And I'm like, I've had your number the entire time. But he's such a lovely cat, like he really just has the best of intentions about utilizing that spot
Yeah.
especially for younger bands, because his kids are artists and involved in the community in East Van, and I think he shares our desire to sort of foster
That place is
sustain.
getting busy.
Yeah. Yeah, big time. How about you, Vanessa? I know that we got a little bit sidetracked there, but I want to know about the music in your house as a kid. Like, why'd you
So,
go down this path? That's what I'm trying to get to here.
so I was a weird, like, super obsessed with the Beatles, like 8-year-old. My dad was really into the Beatles and the Stones, like a lot of classic rock stuff.
Yeah.
My mom was very like Fleetwood Mac and Shania Twain, but my mom's mom actually was very much like a big country fan. She was like a prairie, like, tent revival church singer. She
Mm.
she sang like the Dougabour choir when she was like in Winnipeg. And so it was funny, when I was making sort of like a vibe playlist to send them with the session musicians who are going to be playing on my EP, I played my mom the playlist while we were just sort of hanging out in my kitchen, and she was like, "This is crazy." She's like, "I know, like, you never knew your grandmother, but like, she could have made this playlist. Like, these are like her favorite artists."
Yeah.
I was like, "Ooh."
Okay. Hurts.
Yeah. Oh, my last feeling.
Right in the feels. And what was your first concert that you went to?
Mine?
Yeah.
Oh, my first concert was Weird Al at the PNE. I made my dad take me. I was like determined to. I still love Weird Al. Weird Al's fucking awesome.
Yeah.
Then after that, probably like punk show wise, Gob played at my high school when I was in the 8th grade. We won like some fundraiser.
Oh, cool.
I saw Cobb in high school too. My first concert was definitely a little different than that. First big concert, but I still lived in the Ukraine, but I saw Rammstein with my dad when I was like 11 years old.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
And 10 years old, and it was a messed up time. My dad was pretty freaked out.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is 23, 24 years ago.
Yeah, it goes back, hey? Goes back.
Yeah.
So are
Exactly.
tickets available right now for the launch party and for the EP
Yeah.
release party now?
Yep.
Pick tickets up right now?
Tickets are posted. Yeah, they're on Eventbrite, and they're on all of the event pages and everything. There's a link everywhere. So, yeah, people can buy tickets ASAP.
Awesome. And so where's the best place for people if they want to find a little bit more about Heartache #2 records? Like I guess where are you most active or going to be most active?
You mean do you mean on the internet wise?
Like on social media, Facebook.
Well, yeah,
Twitter.
we built our like a proper website, so there's a newsletter option on there, so you can put your email in there and just confirm on our newsletter. It'll be constantly sending out updates. But usually Instagram is the most popular one these days, and it's just so interactive. And it'll be obviously all on Facebook and Twitter, everywhere else.
Facebook and stuff, but obviously, I mean, some of those things are just necessary evils.
Oh, they are.
Unfortunately, yeah, but
they are.
I feel like
my
Instagram
God.
is definitely the easiest way to get a hold of us because you can actually talk to us instantly, and then all of the updates are usually on there first.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
All right. Well, it's the launch party, the EP release party, the Wise Hall on Friday, February 17th. Tickets are what? $15, $20?
$20.
$20. $20, pretty good for that amount of. You get what, like how many bands? Like 1, 2, 3, 4,
We got a
4
lot of
bands,
people.
DJ, drag performance, visuals. Like, what else do you want? What
I
else
don't
do
know
you
why I
want?
said 15, but it's $20.
I think we're gonna have a little photo booth too.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah, Corey Pollock, who did our did the album art and actually did the logo for the label as well. Who's a very dear friend and a long time collaborator of mine. He is also an excellent photographer, and he is coming up for the occasion. We're gonna do a little backdrop. We're gonna dress up in their fun country attire, and
all night photo booth. It's gonna be awesome.
Nice. So the EP is called Loving, Longing, Leaving.
Yeah.
Vanessa Dee The Brightsides, February 17th at the Wise Hall, East Vancouver. What did you want to play on the podcast from that EP?
Ooh, you could play Pour Out Your Heart to Me.
And give me another one. We'll do 2.
She Dreams of Snakes.
Awesome.
Wait, you don't want to play my whistle solo?
Well, that's how this podcast will start. So
Nice.
Yeah.
thank you for taking the time here and
Thanks
jumping
so
on real
much,
quick
Todd.
and getting us in depth with what you're doing and like starting another thing that's only going to make the scene better.
Yep. That's the goal. Purely unselfish venture.
Yeah. This is to gas up our friends.
Yeah.
He asked me, do you have a man these days? I said, not more than I ever usually do. Shook his head, no, he couldn't keep a straight face. He said, some things never change, love loving you. 'Cause you don't ask me to come home, you don't ask me to slow down. I only hear from others that you wish I'd stick around. So before we end up haunted by the way things used to be, come on over, darling, pour out your heart to me. And wondered how many fellas are the stateside, making nice and trying to impress. Cross his arms when I joke about a ballpark, but if he said more, there'd be a whole lot less. 'Cause you don't ask me to come home, you don't ask me to slow down. I only hear from others that you wish I'd stick around. So before we end up haunted by the way things used to be, come on over, darling, pour out your heart to me. He said, baby, go on, do just what you please. When I asked him what he thought I ought to do, bowed my head, don't wanna play catch and release. I said, some things never change, loving you. 'Cause you don't ask me to come home, you don't ask me to slow down. I only hear from others that you wish I'd stick around. So before we end up haunted by the way things used to be, come on over, darling, pour out your heart to me. Come on over, darling, pour out your heart to me. I stole your dreams one night, I swear, so you could rest your head. Now every time I see your face, my heart is full of dread. She walks with monsters, he makes deals with demons, dreaming of snakes for too many reasons. You collect pennies and trade them for blood. It's a dangerous stakes, boy, you'll die in the mud. Some evil thing so dark and cruel crept in from every side. Now every time you speak my name, in shadows I must hide. She walks monsters and makes deals with demons, dreaming of snakes for too many reasons. You collect pennies and trade them for blood. It's a dangerous stakes, boy, you'll die in the mud. I think you know how much it costs to bring her love to you. I hope it's worth all that you lost. May she always be true. She walks with monsters, he makes deals with demons, dreaming of snakes for too many